Is Ashes of Creation going to turn out just like New World? Make sure to watch to the end.
Hey, what up, boys?
What's up?
So, with the recent release of New World's expansion, it got me thinking about Ashes of Creation's complex and player-driven systems working in the current year.
Okay.
Obviously, New World's attempt at creating a pseudo-player-driven world failed on multiple levels due to both player mentality and flawed design.
Yeah, that was ugly. That was ugly. Yeah, I mean, just the economy itself, it was so just absolutely abhorrent. They needed baseline prices. They absolutely needed baseline prices. And when they just let the players decide all pricing, it just, yeah, it was ugly. It was horrible.
And has never really recovered, as it's shown by their recent expansion being less of an improvement in the last 2 years than I thought it would be. So, can Steven's vision really stand the test of time despite...
You know, I was actually considering getting that Rise of the Angry Earth expansion for New World. I was thinking about it. I was really considering it. I had been playing New World and kind of catching myself up. I got to level 60 on my main character, just to be ready in case I decided to jump on board. And what I was hearing and seeing, it really didn't look that good. And then hearing Narc say it again is just like, okay, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much on that New World expansion.
its systems being very similar to New World? But before we get into that, our beautiful patrons and coped out the wazoo Twitch subs and I would love for you to grab yourself a Coca-Cola, because I know what you're thinking. Aside from the static air that fills your head, your knee-jerk response is to furiously type out, "That can't be true! New World is complete garbage! Don't hear a cash grab made for a multi-million-dollar company."
Yeah, hey, nobody flame me. Well, I guess go ahead and flame me if you want, but don't take it too seriously, right? I enjoy New World. Actually, I like I said, I played up to 60 and I had a good time. I actually enjoyed myself quite a bit. It was fun. I basically just did the story quest and got to level 60 because I never did them before. Like, New World really is fun. I really enjoyed myself getting to level 60. It was a lot of fun, yeah. And so I really can't hate on New World too harshly. I mean, it's doing the thing, right? It is doing the MMO things, and many people really like it.
And Intrepid Studios is an indie developer with passion and care for this product, and they don't want to exploit anybody. Apart from the cosmetics. And yeah, you know what? I agree to an extent, but it's still fun to discuss these topics, and I think it's important to arm ourselves with this knowledge to give the correct feedback during the upcoming Alpha 2. God, I was saying this over a year ago, and the Alpha 2's still not here. What the fuck are you doing, Intrepid? Now.
Come on, get the Alpha 2 in our hands. People want to play it. They want to see it. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what to expect. They want to know if they should be hyped. I think you can still be hyped. I certainly am, but maybe I'm just huffing way too much copium.
With all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we?
All right.
So, returning to New World to play the expansion after 2 years of putting it to bed as another rushed corporate cash grab, it's pretty clear whatever the game's problems are baked into the core design of it.
Okay.
My impressions of New World have not changed at all since 2 years ago, simply because I do not enjoy the core philosophies of what the game has to offer. They fixed bugs, sure. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company offering a live service, but the game is still very buggy. In the 20 hours that I returned for, I encountered a plethora of annoying bugs involving the combat, the overall...
You know, to be fair, I did encounter one, I wouldn't call it a bug necessarily, but just one disappointing experience, I'll say. You know, I got stuck. I got stuck in the world. And they can't perfectly design every single corner, nook and cranny of the world to never get stuck. I can understand that. But it was still disappointing. Like, certain areas, it almost seems like you have to, like, jump down into, like, a cavern or something like that. And when I jumped down into this particular cave or cavern, I got stuck on, like, vines, like the vine texturing or whatever, collisions. I actually got stuck in there. The cool thing is, you just hit escape, and there's a get unstuck button, basically. And that was nice, but it was still kind of a little disappointing, a little jarring. But that's really the only thing. That's the only thing I experienced in my whole time leveling up to 60 recently.
gameplay and the mounts, the crowning feature of New World's latest expansion. So no surprises there. The combat still feels clunky, and the world has absolutely no challenge to it whatsoever.
I really have to agree. The combat feels so clunky. Like shooting the musket, it feels so awkward to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a bad shot. But it really feels awkward. It feels so awkward. The one thing I will say, the bastard sword, it just feels really good to me, but that's just because I love the bastard sword, because I love Cloud and his bastard sword from Final Fantasy VII. I may be a hugely amount biased, but yeah, whatever.
It boils down to that age-old discussion of how many hours do you need to play an MMORPG before it actually gets good.
Look at that gameplay. Stellar. Incredible.
One of the main reasons why I think Classic WoW still remains a top-tier MMO is because right from the get-go, the world challenges you. And that's pretty prevalent because hardcore Classic WoW is still popping off.
True.
Okay, level 11. I'm level 9. What's this?
After all, why offer meaningful challenge when the risk of death could cause Amazon Game Studios to miss out on some of that sweet, sweet battle pass?
What is it about WoW that feels so fun? Like why can I play WoW for hours? And with New World, I can definitely play for a couple of hours, but then I feel burnt out. Why is that? What is the core difference there? Like, something about the gameplay, something about that game feel is just very different. Like, it's definitely boring running across the same enemies, just slightly reskinned over and over. That is true. That's definitely boring. I don't like that about New World. Diablo 4 is a similar way. I know those are very different games, but that just popped into my head as I said that. But yeah, that definitely annoys me, not having enough, like, kind of mechanics differences with enemies. You just get the same enemies over and over. They do the same exact things. They're just slightly reskinned. I hate that. I really do. So that's definitely a big part of it. I don't know what else it is. Oh, and the economy. Yeah, the economy sucks in this game. I don't know. I guess that's two big things right there.
Money. The New World copium addicts in my chat were adamant it gets a lot better post level 30, but I already know that they're lying because this isn't my first time journeying to max level.
I feel like if you have to make that argument, like, hey, you just have to play until this level and it gets good, I think that means it's not a good game or not, like, an incredible game. Because you shouldn't have to get to a certain threshold to have fun. You should be able to have fun from beginning to end. That is a good game. That is a great game, in my opinion.
Finally, there was some severe ping issues at peak times in EU, which is ironic considering this is supposed to be an FPS-oriented MMORPG.
Yeah.
Again, this is why action combat MMORPGs have failed time and time again, with the exception of Black Desert Online.
Yeah. And it still looks incredible. Still fast-paced and fun-looking. I love that comparison.
Now, even though the game is still very much the same as it was back in 2021, it needs to be said that they have improved the starting experience by changing the infamous copy-pasted points of interest with more story-focused ones. However, the game's main story still boils down to the following: run to location and press E, or run to location and kill a bunch of non-threatening mobs, all...
That's so true. I'm glad he laid it out that way, just so plainly. It really is true. Go to location, press E to talk to somebody or grab a thing. Go to location and fight a thing, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all the New World story.
All the way to max level. Again, this is the illusion of an improvement that quickly gets boring. In addition, it doesn't appear that the end game has improved at all either. The crafting end game is still shallow as all hell, and the game is still very theme park heavy, running Mythic Plus style dungeons and raids with an open world that consists of running around in a large raid group, pressing E on a bunch of chests for risk-free loot, or dropping AoEs on premeditated boss spawn timers for risk-free loot again. again, not exactly my idea of riveting content,
Right.
which concludes my review of New World in 2023. Is a slightly polished turd still a turd? But this video
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, indeed it is. You can't polish up a turd enough to make it not a turd anymore. Yes.
isn't supposed to be a New World review. Now, on to the discussion at hand. With New World's design being heavily inspired by Steven's vision, it sparked a fair few arguments in chat about the viability of this type of player-driven content in the modern era. As we painstakingly study every single frame of the live streams over at twitch.tv/Narciverse, we discovered some interesting niches about Ashes of Creation's story arc systems. As you'll notice, the quest log for all of these consists of one thing: go to location and interact with it.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah, when you put it like that, ooh. This is looking a lot more New Worldy, and that is not very promising. I really hope... Oh, man. Oh, man. No, this is not good. I want to be hyped for Ashes of Creation. I want to be excited. I want to be so stoked for this. Like you was saying, the idea of just a total nerd who loves video games and wants to make a good MMO, who has tons of money, putting together the studio and just making it happen. I loved that about Ashes of Creation. I really believed, like, okay, this guy loves games. He's gonna make sure it's a great game. Maybe this is just his lack of game design experience showing through, but he has a whole team, so you'd think he'd hire people who know how to make games. Now I'm getting into the weeds of it. This is freaking me out. No. I want Ashes of Creation to be good, please. This questing needs to be revamped. This is not okay.
Very, very similar to New World's chest runs.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is that Ashes of Creation will end up getting meta-gamed in a similar way to New World, where players who've never met each other before gather around in a large raid group designed specifically for mindlessly zerging a local point of interest's story arc.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say we have very little knowledge on how these story arcs are distributed to players, how they're progressed, and how the world changes dynamically, but one thing is for sure at this stage: the objectives are not dynamic. They're static points that never change despite the current state of the environment around it.
See, one of the things that I like about WoW is that there's kind of interesting questing sometimes. Like, not all the time. This stuff does happen in WoW, of course. But there's also weird little quests where you have to, like, I don't know, you have to follow some annoying little chirping dude, but he's also kind of, like, endearing in a way because of the way that he's annoying. And you have to follow him around and do little things for him, or you have to go collect, like, 3 parts and watch this little NPC build a thing, and then it does something for the story. Like, I love that. I love the different types of interactions instead of just kill 6 boars and return. Kill 10 goblins and return, you know? It's just, yeah, it's lame.
Was most prevalent during the Cleric Showcase, where they showed us their Minotaur versus Bandit story arc objectives. The backpack you interact with is static, the bandit leader you interact with on the ramparts is static, the chest that you interact with in the basement is static, and the flame on the top of the building to summon the undead is also static. Meaning, this whole story arc could be completed by simply running from points A to point B to point C and D without actually stopping. This heavily encourages giant pug zergs to create story arc trains around the world that completely trivialize these objectives. And this is completely against the spirit of Ashes of Creation's social systems. So then, how do you prevent this? How do you stop players from meta-gaming quest objectives like this? Or are we...
That's a good question. No, seriously, that's a great question. Because, I mean, we can complain about it, but how do you actually change it? Like what can we really do differently? You have these static placements because you kind of have to put them somewhere, right? I mean, I guess you could randomize locations, but then you're still going to have, like, a mini-map and quest markers anyway, so you're going to be able to get there, or at least conventionally you would. So how do you actually change it? That's a great question.
Are we just reacting too harshly to early conceptual development? In my
Maybe.
opinion, the running around in a big raid group of strangers, trying to tag as many mobs as possible before they're obliterated, and spawn camping so-called world bosses is
Jeez.
not good MMORPG design. It's shallow, it's meaningless, and our currently popular MMORPGs have doubled and tripled down on this type of content. Retail World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, and New World are all heavy culprits for this type of gameplay.
Yeah.
And it just isn't.
You know what would be fun? What would be really fun? Like, okay, you can have predictable timers for a world boss. Sure, that's fine. Like, whatever. But imagine the world boss location being randomized. Like, not predetermined spots that it just rotates through, but actually randomized. Where it could end up right next to a node, like, I don't know, housing area or something like that. And maybe it can even destroy houses. Like, I could see how there would be a negative to that. It wouldn't feel good as the player getting your house destroyed. But maybe that's exciting. Maybe it encourages people to work together. Like, hey, the whole node, housing area, and maybe even the town guard NPCs get involved if it's close enough and things like that. Like, that could be really exciting. Hey, everyone, come here now. Like, help us save this housing area, our houses that we paid for, or, spent our in-game money and gold, furnishing or whatever. We got to destroy the world boss before everything gets destroyed. It could be hype. I don't know. There's probably a negative to that I'm not seeing, but it sounds at least more interesting than this.
Fun or meaningful to me at all. It's the illusion of a massively multiplayer world.
Yeah.
When the reality is, you're all just scrambling around playing your own single-player game with a bunch of people around you doing the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no interaction there, no discussion, no meaningful content to actually enjoy. It's all just a Zerg fest, and that is one of Ashes of Creation's core challenges to overcome. I fear we'll see looking for more Blood Still Due story arc starting on the hour. Spend 10 minutes or so forming a max raid, then when the raid all gathers at the entrance of the node, you all head out as one big blob, then running from point to point to point, clearing the story arc and trivializing the world entirely. Hopefully, Intrepid have considered this possibility, and the information that we're missing in regards to how the story arcs are spawned, progressed, and rewarded counteract this modern-day Zerg mentality.
Yeah.
But even if they haven't, at least we can go into Alpha 2 acknowledging this possibility.
Yeah, I mean, if we can just wrap our minds around what Ashes of Creation is doing, what it could be, go into the Alpha 2 with kind of an open mind. We've seen everything in the live streams up to this point, and live streams up until Alpha 2 we will continue to see. But I don't know. I feel like there's still a huge potential with this game to be really good, especially if things are executed right. The questing system was concerning, but it's still alpha. So maybe they're just getting things on the board so that they have a line to write out, and then they're going to flesh it out more as time goes on. Who knows? I'm not sure. That could be the huffing of copium again. You never know. But let's just keep an open mind about it.
Attempting to metagame it, and then providing feedback on how to improve the overall gameplay. After all, isn't that the beauty of Ashes of Creation's open development? But as usual, I am just one nerd, desperate for a good MMO, and hey,
And as am I, Narc, as am I. So he's wrapping up here, and I'm going to wrap up as well. Seeing them side by side like that, I can see similarities, New World to Ashes of Creation. I think Ashes of Creation is doing a lot of things different, and hopefully that pays off. The questing is still concerning to me, but I'm gonna chalk that up to it being an alpha. It's still very early in the development. They're gonna flesh it out more, and it'll be a really fun and exciting questing experience, hopefully. But as of right now, I still think things look really promising. The node system events and everything like that, the player housing and everything, the classes, abilities, it all looks pretty promising from Ashes of Creation. Let's stay hyped, people. Let's just see what it looks like in Alpha 2 and going forward, and we'll go from there, guys. Well, what do you guys think? Are we concerned about Ashes of Creation? Is it going to be like New World? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like, a subscribe, and I will see you next time.